Again, in the panel just before, we had very interesting takeaways. Power is in education. If you're a patient and you want to realize your dreams, you have to be educated. And if you want to have an impact as a company, what you need is, of course, have that patient along throughout the whole journey. We're going to talk about technology now, and I suppose you all agree that, of course, technology is part and becomes an even bigger part every day of healthcare. But there's, of course, many emerging technologies out there that will have an impact, will have an influence. We're now going to talk about the virtual universe. What does that virtual universe mean to patients? We have, again, people joining us from their home offices, and I'm very happy to introduce you and give the floor to your moderator, who is Gabriela APIOU. She's the Strategic Alliance Director from the Massachusetts General Hospital Research Institute at the Harvard Medical School. Very happy to have you here and have your guests with us. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you and welcome. I think we are on for a treat this afternoon, so it's my great privilege and honor to chair this amazing panel, amazing speakers, and such a relevant topic. Since we don't have too much time, I will just give you a short introduction and tell you a little bit about the framework we decided we would follow. So I will ask my colleagues here, panelists, to introduce themselves. This will be a unusual introduction. They will very briefly tell you about their background, both education and experience, but very importantly, how they came to this virtual universe and why, what brought them into this field. And maybe one note on the most important problem they are tackling currently in this field. So I think this will be the first part of our panel discussion, and it will be followed by a section where we will ask our panelists will tell you one challenge they are facing in the field and one major opportunity they see coming. So we try to make it very, very inspiring. We hope this will be, and that we will have questions, maybe not so many during the panel, but afterwards we will be here, and we look forward to discussing further with you. So I don't see my remote speakers, but we will start with, they are here. We don't see them in it. So I will start with Anca. So the introduction piece, very much virtual universe. Oh, hi David, hi Alon. Welcome. Okay, so Anca, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gabriela. So my name is Anca PETRE. I am a pharmacist by training, and I discovered the wonderful world of what we called back then blockchains and Web3, and that have now turned into virtual worlds when I was in my second year of studies at university. As to my professional background, it's pretty short, since I started my company when I was still at university, and it's still going on today. So that's about it for my background and my working experience. But what was interesting to me when I was in my second year is that when you study pharmacy, basically each year they teach you of a different stage in drug development. So the first year, they teach you about preclinical trials. And that's when they tell you that it takes about 10 to 15 years from the moment you have a discovery and you think that a molecule might have some interest to the moment it becomes a drug available to patients. And being naive, and back then, I thought that was crazy long. I was like, how is that possible that it takes so long for a patient to have a solution? And so I started looking at alternatives. I thought, maybe we have other ways of doing things. And that's when I got the opportunity to do a business school. And so I did a business school in parallel with my pharmacy studies. And there I was taught about something called the decentralized web. which was what they were telling me was the new version of the web, the future of the internet, a future where patients and users are much more empowered to contribute to everything that is being done. And so I thought that was interesting because maybe, just maybe, if all these healthcare stakeholders are much more involved in the innovation process, maybe we can speed that up. And so that was the foundation of my interest in back then Web3, and now Web3 is just an umbrella term for things like blockchain and metaverses and virtual universes. And so that's how it started 8 years ago.
Thank you, Anca. What a great journey. So, Alon.
Alon, thank you, perfect. And first, let me apologize not to being with you over there. I was planning to come, but the unfortunate event in Israel prevented me from traveling. However, I would like to thank President Macron and all the world leaders who support us and come to visit us. So, as for myself, I'm a mechanical engineer in training. I'm from the Technion, Israel Institute of Technology. I would say for the last 25 years, I've been involved in the medical field, starting with medical robotics, medical technology devices for rehabilitation and surgery. I have several products out there in the market. One of them is the spine assist for spine surgery. Then went to Carnegie Mellon University and developed a med robotics company with the Flex snake robot for general surgery. In the last 20 years, I'm back, or 17 years, I'm back in Israel, doing a lot of work in this field. Lately, I'm very much involved in the virtual environment and in general and in the medical field in particular, introducing full haptic feedback to users. And for those of you who are in this field of rehabilitation, surgery, one of the major, I would say, challenges is to bring back full texture, understanding what you touch and how much what you do. And this is in one of the latest projects that I'm involved in.
Thank you, Alon. Myriam?
Hello, everybody. So I'm Myriam BEAVES. I work for Dassault Systèmes. I have biochemistry background and also a master degree in innovation. I started 20 years ago to work in a company called Acceleris, and this company became later on BioVia from Dassault Systèmes, and I will explain you. And we were involved from the beginning in virtual universe because we were doing molecular modeling simulation. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but basically it's how to discover a drug, a medicine drug, virtually. So we call it in silico drug discovery. So it was really already 20 years ago, the first virtual universe, but at the molecular level. And later on, I continue my career working in technology companies, in the biopharma and biotech industries. And I joined Dassault Systèmes 7 years ago. And since then, I work in the innovation department in Dassault Systèmes. And you may think Dassault Systèmes, very strange, virtual universe, healthcare, how is it possible? And in fact, it's because Dassault Systèmes were the pioneer in virtual universe. They were the first company to develop completely in a virtual world the first aircraft. You may have heard about that. It was 20 years ago. We call it the virtual plateau. And this aircraft has been developed from scratch, from the design to the manufacturing, even to the maintenance. And we really believe that this knowledge and the power of this virtual universe can be transferred in the healthcare industry. And we have very good reason to think that it's possible. We started to invest in life science 10 years ago. We have many projects in this field using virtual technologies. And I think we will discuss that later on, but there are many opportunities. This is just the main message. Today, those virtual universes, they are used in standard in the manufacturing field, in automotive, in aerospace, and that could be the next big thing that will happen in healthcare. We are really convinced about that.
Thank you, Myriam. David, from my home, the other home country.
Hello. Hi, everybody. I really wish I could be there. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. So a little bit about me. I'm a practicing physician in Boston. I specialize in pain management and spine disorders. I did medical school in Buffalo and trained primarily in Boston. About 10 years ago, I started to really get interested in healthcare innovation. I ended up going back to school. I got an MBA at MIT, and it was during that time that I became really inspired by some of the innovation ecosystem that we have. Home base for me, it's Spalding Rehabilitation Hospital and also Mass General Hospital. And so I started to try to incorporate that into my practice gradually. I was able to become the Director of Innovation at Spalding and really enjoyed working with new technologies and companies that were really interested in addressing some of the healthcare problems. And in my own world, chronic pain was something that we saw every day, and fortunately in the United States, it's a huge issue. It's estimated that 20% of people in the United States suffer from chronic pain, so the market was huge. And so it just seemed to me that with the way that technology was going, virtual care was really a new opportunity that was not tapped at that point. And so that's what got me interested in virtual care and also virtual reality, specifically for our patients with chronic pain.
Thank you, David. So you heard these amazing journeys and the different perspectives. So this was our goal when we put together this panel, to bring to you these different points of view so that we can take it further and hopefully connect for discussions to follow. So I will come back now to the second part of our panel and ask each of my colleagues to speak to one challenge and one opportunity they see in their everyday professional life. So I will start again with Anca.
Absolutely. So what is interesting to us at Medrise Studio is that everything about Web3, and again, Web3 is just this general umbrella term for virtual worlds, etc., is that everything now is based on experience. We have to imagine these virtual worlds as an opportunity to reinvent the way we interact with each healthcare stakeholder, basically. And the reason I'm saying this is, I don't know if any of you have experienced virtual reality. The first time I put on a virtual reality headset, I thought it was amazing. I spent 10 minutes in the ISS and into open space. And then I went to a concert, and then I went to a stand-up comedy room, and then I went to have fun with some friends in a video game. And I thought that was incredible, that you can get to experience all these different things. And so that got me thinking, what experience can we provide in healthcare to healthcare professionals, but also to patients, to engage them in a different way? Now, I just want to say that virtual worlds and metaverses are not only with VR headsets, they can be plain 2D, but the fundamental question is, what is the experience? And I'll just give you an example. Sometimes you might hear that we can do virtual consultations in a metaverse or in a virtual environment. And a lot of people come to me and say, but what's the point? We can already do that on Zoom or on any telemedicine platform, remote patient monitoring tools. We already have that. What's the point? Well, the point is experience, because experiencing virtual consultations will never beat experiencing them in real life. That's not even a question. It will never be as good as seeing your doctor face to face, but it can be different. For instance, you can go to your doctor's office and have a lot of virtual content come up to you. Because today, when you go to see your doctor, maybe sometimes it feels a bit like an experience where you receive a lot of information, you're not sure you understand everything, and you just leave with more questions than before. But these virtual environments are an opportunity to educate, to inform in different ways. We can gamify experiences, we can have all types of content coming up, and along the way, as you experience healthcare, you can experience it differently. So the one opportunity I see is the content we push to healthcare providers or to patients can be completely different and can be much more engaging and much more sexy in these virtual environments than what we have today. And just before we started this panel, we were told that education is the key to patient empowerment. And I think we have now an opportunity to do that in a virtual environment.
Thank you, Anca. Alon?
Well, I would say that there are a couple of challenges. One of them is to close the gap between models and real world, especially for all of us that try to model things. We all know that in theory there is no difference between theory and practice, where in practice there is. And I think one of the major challenges now is to close this gap and to try to bring theory and reality closer to each other. Other challenges is to bridge between virtual and real world, because we hear a lot about virtual reality, and essentially when you talk about the metaverse, etc., you know, it's all kind of, and I think was mentioned by the speaker before me, all kind of augmented reality, virtual reality, more focused on what you see, where in fact we live in a world which everything is physical. You want to touch, you want to feel things, and in that sense, if we go to virtual, I think we are taking a risk of taking away humanism, or the human intuition and the touch between the clinician and the patient. And I think that one of the greatest challenges that we are going to confront is to bring all these parameters together, where you use the benefit of virtual reality, distance medicines, remote medicines, but also the touch and the person-to-person interaction between the clinician and the patients.
Thank you, Alon. Myriam?
Yes. So one of the challenges that we have at Dassault Systèmes, because we have really the vision of creating we call it the human virtual twins, meaning that it would be a complete twin of the human body. And as you know, the biology is very complex, and it's very difficult to pretend to have a complete virtual twin of the human. So we decided to tackle the problem organs by organs, and not to work on our own to do that. So we have created several consortium. So one of the most advanced one is called the Living Arts, which is a bunch of people, academics, Dassault Systèmes with the technology, some doctors, medicine patients, to really work on a virtual twin of the heart. And we can see that there are many opportunities with that. So, for instance, to do a pre-planning for operation, for instance, this is one of the main advantage. Also, to be able to provide some personalized medicine, because it's very important that everybody is different, and to have a kind of personal approach for the practitioner. We also work very much with manufacturer, medical device manufacturer, to make sure that they optimize their devices. If you have to have a heart implant, for instance, that could be really optimized for a first-time operation. So this is really one of the main challenge that we are currently working on. And as a major opportunity as well, we really believe that for the patient himself, because we were very much in a business world with practitioners or also hospital and so on, but for the patient itself, what can we bring? And we have developed recently an innovation project with the Institut Hartmann in Levallois-Perret to develop a new experience. It's in VR, in virtual reality, but this experience is really dedicated to the patient before a radiotherapy session. As you know, it could be a very stressful and difficult moment to have a radiotherapy session. You never have the possibility to visit the room to understand how the treatment will occur. So we have developed this VR experience for the patient to be prepared to his session. And exactly like, I like the parallel about when you're a pilot and you have a flight simulator. So that would be the same things, but for the patient, just to make sure that they understand their patient, their treatment, that they get less apprehension, and that they can really understand the benefit of the treatment. So this is, and I'm sure we can replicate that in many other fields.
Thank you, Myriam. David, back to you. You are seeing the patients.
So one of the things that we've been working on more recently is we've been able to create a virtual reality content and also an educational program for patients with chronic pain. We've actually been able to integrate that into our electronic medical record, in large part actually to help from Gabriela. So I have to thank Gabriela because it's been really crucial for our success. But what I see from my perspective in terms of a major opportunity is that of continuity of care. Our patients are going to the hospital and, they might get 20 minutes or 30 minutes at the most with, a doctor or a healthcare provider, and then they go home and that's it. And so I think technology and virtual care and virtual reality, for example, allows us the opportunity to continue that care while they're at home. And I think that, it's logical to think that that's just going to increase our success. And also allows us to monitor certain things that allows us to fine-tune the treatment plan. I think in terms of one of the challenges is the concept of, sometimes we refer to it as tequity, technology and equity. So you can have the best technology in the world and it can work great, but if your consumer, if your patients, don't have the financial resources, don't have the knowledge to work with it, then it's not going to be of much use. And so I think trying to balance that, the development of technology that can be helpful for patient care, but also, thinking about ways that you may be able to implement and improve adoption so that it's accessible to everybody, regardless of socioeconomic status, I think is the key.
Thank you, David. So now I was wondering if you would have one or two questions for us before we go to the final thoughts. Yeah. Maybe you introduce yourself.
Hello, so Philippe Rocol from Sanofi. Just a question, so maybe more, I don't know, in Europe about the regulation challenges that we might have for all this innovation in virtual reality, especially the interaction between the patient and the doctors, and what the role you see for an industry company playing in this virtual reality. Very large question.
I can answer part of that because we are very much, we share the same concern than you. And we work closely with the FDA. To give you an example, we have developed this Living Heart project that I was mentioning also. So we develop some studies with the FDA to compare what would be, for instance, if we use those simulation tool to replace some patient cohort potentially. So we do some comparison study between virtual cohorts, for instance, and real cohorts. And I think it is very crucial. I agree with you that we get through this regulatory process to make sure that we can deploy that kind of technology. We have also other projects. Maybe you are familiar with what we call the synthetic control arm, which is also very new and to accelerate the clinical trial. So once again, the aim is to replace the control cohort for when you put a drug on the market using a virtual cohort. And but it is absolutely crucial to work with those regulatory entities for sure.
Thank you, Myriam.
Maybe to answer on the pharma side of things, we approach it more from a marketing perspective, and we're looking at virtual universes as the next place for HCP or patient engagement. And what we see happening today is that pharma basically has two big use cases in this aspect. The first one is around HCP engagement. I'm using the virtual universes and metaverse as a new channel in my omni-channel strategy, and how do I engage with HCPs through this new channel? And when it comes to patients, it's the same thing. Today patients have a 30-second attention span on TikTok to have prevention messages and awareness. You turn that into 20 to 30 minutes when you're in virtual environments that are so captivating. So in those 20 to 30 minutes, what messages can I push to raise awareness about diseases? Those are the two main areas we're working on.
Any comments on the, David, maybe, I know it's not Europe, but maybe you can speak also to that, to the regulatory?
Yeah, it's a great question. So a lot of what we deal with regulation, especially kind of starting off, has to do and is centered around patient confidentiality. So, there's a lot of regulations, and for the right reasons, that we need to just make sure we adhere to, that if we obtain any sort of information, even however innocent it might seem like it is, that it's protected in kind of various different ways.
Alon?
Yeah, well, I agree that regulation, of course, one word was not mentioned till now is ethics. And I think that we all try to balance between what we do and what we develop and ethical questions that are, we're all challenged, and I think this is part of the regulatory role to ask those tough questions. I do see trends lately of patients trading their data. So I see this in several places, several countries. So this is a new trend now. So, and this would, I think, will raise lots of questions, of how much you want to protect yourself versus how much the regulation wants to protect yourself, and how much would you like to be protected. And there is always the question, or always the issue where I ask about people using all those social networks. People are concerned from their data there, and I ask, if you don't, people use it for free. They're not willing to pay, you're not willing to pay for TikTok. So rule of thumb is if you don't pay for the product, you must be the product. So, and this raises lots of questions, especially when we get to the medical field about ethics. What can you share? How much can you share? Who owns the data? Etc.
Yep.
I think it's a Pandora box that is now being opened. I'm not sure that we know how to deal with it right now.
No, there's a new field we are opening. I think we can have a full discussion only on this one or two questions you just raised, Alon. I would like to go back to one thought you would have for the closing of the panel. Anca?
Well, I think something that I was once told that I thought was very inspiring is that you have to imagine this virtual world as a blank canvas. And if we have to start our entire health system from scratch, what would you like to build? And I think that this is such a thrilling question to be able to say, what is the doctor's appointment of the future? What is scientific and research collaboration in the future? And anything that comes to your mind, well, now is the time to actually do it. So I think that's really inspiring.
Thank you. Alon?
Well, I think the technology is, we are in a focal point in time where everything changes so fast, exponentially. And, I keep asking myself, in the last 50 years, technology changed so much. In the last 10 years, 5 years, have humanity changed, evolution changed as, was able to catch up these technological changes? And I think that we will have, I was enthusiastic when I started my career, and I'm still, I have technology helping people around the world. But I think one of our roles as leaders is to ask ourselves, the question is, how far to stretch and how far to go. And these are questions, as you said, there could be a complete session just to discuss these issues that are now concerning, are big concerns to many people in the community that are asking themselves, have we gone too far, too fast?
Thank you, Alon. Myriam?
So I would just say that this is what we think at Dassault Systèmes. We think that virtual world will improve and extend the real world. It will never replace. And we also think that the only progress is human. So we don't be scared about those new technology. We are convinced that we will find the right balance between the virtual and the real world.
Thank you, Myriam. And David?
So I think, in the US, medicine has gotten very siloed, and we have these silos of knowledge. And I think as the virtual world is further explored and developed, I think that, it's going to be really important that we all collaborate so that, we can, develop what our patients need, what our providers need, so that it can be as helpful as possible and just develop in the most efficient and best way.
May I add one more thing? Is I think when we look at technology, we need to ask ourselves the question of push-pull, and whether how much we're pushing, how much there is a need, and I think the key word or the take-home message is enabling technology that enables you to do something you couldn't do before, and really have a big improvement or significant improvement, and again, with all the concerns and all the regulations, etc., etc. But how much we want to push, how much we are being pulled, and there is like a tangle between engineers and scientists who try to develop in the real world.
Thank you, Alon. So I would like to give a round of applause and thank all our speakers today. And thank you all, and the organizers, of course, of the conference. This is the 5th conference, for me at least. What a great privilege. Thank you all.